joined again this morning by the wonderful Nick Buckley, MBE. And you know what? I was doing a little bit of digging on Mr. Buckley this morning, saying, what is this guy's? He keeps telling me he's a man on a mission and he's always running for office. But what's the story behind Nick Buckley? So I was happy to see that you've done a lot of work, Nick, over the years with homelessness. You were a very big campaigner for homelessness. You were very heavily involved in charity work, and that's where the MBE came from. So kudos to you. It's something that I have a heart for myself.
Yeah, I set up several projects helping homeless people. Personally, I think I've got just over 100 people off the streets into accommodation, another 75 off the streets into accommodation, then into work. I set up a homeless project supporting kids who were living in B&Bs who are not getting education. So we set up like a mobile library to give them books so they could continue with some sort of education. And then before that, I worked for Manchester Council, and I used to chair multi-agency meetings trying to get people off the streets.
Mm-hmm. Good man, good man. Well, respect to you, and your neck of the woods too. We were talking just before we came on air, but I have to bring this one up. There's talk about an Oasis reunion going on again. The rumours have been building, and apparently tomorrow morning there's going to be a big announcement made at 8 a.m. 27th of August. Maybe people don't give a damn about Oasis or music, but in your neck of the woods, it's a big thing. It could actually be the best news story to hit Manchester in 15 to 20 years. So would you be going to the gigs?
I wouldn't go if you paid me to go. I liked some of the early albums I liked.
Yeah.
But the crowd you get at an Oasis concert and not the sort of crowd I would like to be in the middle of.
You might be surprised, Nick, because I'll tell you why. Those kids back in 30 years now, since Definitely Maybe was released, were probably in their late teens to early 20s. They're all pushing 50 now, like me. I was only a young boy whenever Definitely Maybe came out. Now I'm an old middle-aged man. So you might be surprised at the crowd that will be there. I would say there'll be
You've probably got a very good point.
I have, I'm telling you, because I went to see a gig with my daughter in Dublin about a month or two ago, and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, it was a big outdoor gig, 50, 60,000 people, and I thought it's going to be a bunch of crazy drunken teens. It was not. I'd say the average age of that at that gig was about 50, because the band was big in the 90s, and therefore the entire fan base has gotten a lot older. In fact, my daughter at 18 was probably the youngest person there, actually. There was a lot of old duffers there, Nick.
Well, if you had a stadium full of people like me, then you'd have a stadium full of old men with a bad back who can't get through the night without going to the toilet for at least 1p.
Well, thanks for sharing that very personal information with us this morning. But anyway, for any of you out there that are music fans that are maybe in need of a little bit of a lift, who knows? The Gallagher brothers may just reunite this year. But listen, let's pivot on to somebody infinitely more depressing, which is Keir Starmer. He has put a stark warning out. He's issued a warning, and this was reported on through The Independent there last week. He said things will get worse before they get better, giving his first keynote speech since becoming PM. Starmer will warn that things were worse than we ever imagined. I think that speech is maybe due tomorrow, possibly, and he's going to be touting for, I need at least 10 years to undo this mess. Do you think we can survive 10 years under this regime? I think we'll be lucky to do another 10 weeks.
No, this government will not last the 5 years. They will collapse at some point. Is he right that things will get worse before they get better? Damn right he is. I've been saying this for several years now. The only disappointment is he didn't tell us this before the election, though, did he? He sold us a dream of utopia. Our energy prices were going to come down. He was going to stop illegal immigration. He had the answers to everything, just like every other lying politician. This isn't an anti-Labour thing. Tories just as bad. Lib Debs just as bad. Politicians don't treat us with respect. And he lied to us at the election because he knew it was going to work. And now he's in office, and now he's got the realism of how big this job is. He now wants to warn us that things will get worse before they get better. We need him out. We need the Tories out, and we need to get a fresh approach to politics in the UK.
Yeah, because they have just taken the baton of lying and manipulating and breaking promises. They've just lifted that and ran with it from the Tories, which of course many people rightly said it's just a uniparty. Labour were never really in opposition whilst the Tories in power, especially during the COVID years. And now, of course, now that they're in power, they're quickly backtracking on many things they promised. One thing in particular that I've picked up on, and I've been going back through Rachel Reeves's timelines on her social media, just 6 months. Same thing with Keir Starmer, out visiting the elderly, telling them that they shouldn't be taxed highly, that they need to be looked after, that they're very, very important. And then, of course, the winter fuel allowances are going to be chopped, and a lot of people literally are going to freeze to death this winter because of what Starmer and co are doing with regards to their fuel support. Literally could be costing lives.
Every government teaches the future government that you can lie. You can do a barefaced lie to the people of the UK, and you may get a bad headline, but a couple of weeks later, those idiots have forgot all about it, and then you can carry on with a new lie and a new lie and a new lie. All my life, every government says we're going to reduce immigration. All my life, every government has said that. Every government has lied because it's increased. This government now, before the election, they were criticising the Tories for even thinking about cutting the winter fuel allowance. And what do they do? 50 days in office? Cut it. At the same time, where energy bills are increasing. They may have got away with it if energy prices were coming down at the same time. They could say, you don't actually need this money now. This was only a temporary measure. But the fact energy prices have shot up 10% in the same week they're cutting it. How much more can the British people take of lies, of incompetence, of being treated like fools? And sometimes I have to think to myself, do you know what? Maybe we are fools. Maybe we are.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it is, it should be once bitten, twice shy, but that doesn't seem to be the point. It's like you're bitten over and over again and you're still not shy. That seems to be the case. But we've got to take a quick headline break. And when we come back, let's look at some of the things that he's prepping us that we should brace ourselves for. Not that it's going to come as a surprise to you and I, but it may be coming as a surprise for many fawning Labour voters who thought they were getting heaven, but instead they will be delivered hell on a plate. We're talking about what lies ahead. And just I'm looking back at this headline here, actually, Starmer issuing a stark warning, things will get worse before they get better. I don't know if you remember, there was a pop song by a guy from Northern Ireland, actually, things will only get better. That was a big hit back in the 90s, but Starmer seems to, of course, put a negative spin, things will only get worse. So nothing surprising to you and I. It says here, this will come after Chancellor Reeves has claimed the government has inherited a 22 billion pound black hole. Starmer also talks about taking on a societal black hole. Fair enough. Can't argue with the fact the Tories did so much damage. And I do agree, they've inherited a pup. However, it doesn't look like they've done anything at all to make it better. They just seem to be tearing that hole in the fabric of society even wider.
Yeah, they've not come into power to improve the UK. They've come into power to initiate and implement an ideology that the left wing have had for a long time. Unfortunately for them this time round, the country is bankrupt, so there's no money. When Blair came in, there was plenty of money. When other people have come in, there was plenty of money. We're bankrupt, almost bankrupt at the moment. So all the big spending projects, the way he could buy support from the crazies of his party, how he could buy support by paying people off, apart from the unions, he can't do any of that. So he's in for a hard time. And once the bond markets and once the Bank of England realise what's going on and interest rates start going up and it's more expensive for us to borrow money, then it'll be even harder. And let's be honest, the only guarantee I could give for this government would be they're going to put taxes up. And we know that. And that's on top of a Tory government who have put taxes up to the highest rate in 70, 80 years. So me and you will be paying a lot more taxes over the next few years. And that's only to fill some of the holes. That's not for anything decent. All our public services are all still crumbling. He could fix them with no money. All he would need is a backbone. But none of our politicians have a backbone. So there's lots of things he could fix that require no money. And 10 years from now, that would improve the country and money would start coming in then. But people don't plan for the long term. Politicians only look at the next election cycle, and that's a huge mistake we keep making in this country.
It is. I'm looking at another post here. This chap posted it not too far from you. I think the Labour councillor or the mayor for Rotherham. That's in South Yorkshire. That's up north, as they would say in any other part of the world. But anyway, he's doing a little bit of fawning over Rachel Reeves here last week. This is a post that he put up. Andy Burnham's been piping out the same kind of tune. Honoured to welcome our first female Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, to the region. We shared focuses on net zero, on house building, on turbocharging growth. We can be the drivers of mission delivery. Those are fluffy non-statements. Those are nothing statements. Turbocharging growth, what does that mean? Drivers of mission delivery, what does that mean? And then he goes on to say, we have already achieved so much. We've already achieved so much. And then chillingly, he says, and we're just getting started. How does that make you feel?
Well, if the Mayor of Greater Manchester and the Mayor of Rotherham want to say something to me, the first thing they should say is, we humbly apologise for the rape and abuse of tens of thousands of poor white girls in our areas while we have been in charge. Not historic, while we have been in charge. That's what they need to say straight away. And then they've got the audacity to mention housing. We have got a housing crisis in this country. It's obvious to see. But 90% of that housing crisis has been caused by mass immigration. Where do you think these people are going to live? Of course, they want a house. I don't blame them wanting a house. They're not going to live under a lamppost. All these problems have been implemented over decades by many governments, and not one of them want to talk about it. So they say things like, our first female chancellor. Well, do you know what? I don't care if she's female. Right. I don't care if she's a lesbian, if she's black, if she's in a wheelchair, if she's Muslim, if she's an alien. I don't care. I just want her to do things that improve the country. But the left of our country are just embedded with this identity politics. It was more important that she was a woman than that she's competent. And I'm the opposite. Don't care she's a woman. I just want her to be competent.
Let's finish off by talking about homelessness, because you touched on the housing crisis that's going on here at the minute, and it is a crisis. Now, again, when Labour came in 7.5 weeks ago now, Angela Rayner was telling us how, we're going to build 1.5 million houses, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do away with planning laws to make this happen quicker. I worked out it was they needed to average about 800 houses a day to hit their £1.5 million target. So let's work that out. That's 50,000 a week-ish. So 7 weeks in, they should have already built, however many tens of thousands of houses. Have you heard any reports yet of any new builds going up under the Labour yet? Or are they still planning? They're still going to turbocharge that?
This is just one of those standard lies that they've picked up from the Tories, who picked up from New Labour, who picked up from the Tory government before that. There's certain lies that tell us all the time, we're going to build more houses, we're going to build more council houses, we're going to stop immigration, we're going to stop the boats. These are just mantras that come out because they think they work, because it worked for the last government. So if it worked for the last government, it'll work for us. Not a chance in hell they're going to build 1.5 million houses, because if it could be done, the Tories would have done it, because they could have run their election on that record. But again, this is doable if politicians had the backbone. If the politicians had the backbone and took on the civil service and took on the planning regulation and took on the courts and took on the protest groups, then we could build a load of houses. But I don't think that's the answer, because we could build 1.5 million houses over the next couple of years. They would all be full of immigrants. And that sends a signal to the third world that, there's more houses in the UK now. Let's get over there. So building more houses will not end our housing crisis. What ends our housing crisis is a stop to mass immigration.
And just on that note as well, of course, it's worth noting that Angela Rayner has also said that the whole allocation of housing, you need to be here 10 years on a waiting list before you're going to get priority housing. That's also being done away with as well. And they've been talking about, it was Operation Scatter. I'm not sure the exact terminology for it, but that's basically, okay, we're not going to concentrate, migrants or immigrants into one particular area. We're going to spread them out all over the UK. Obviously, some places are going to have more capacity to take them than others. But when you look at Ireland at the minute, Nick, there's one village in particular called Dundrum, population 200. They're putting 260 migrants or so-called asylum seekers into that one particular village, which will more than double the population overnight. But there's no infrastructure changes. There's no actual schooling place additions there. There's no doctors additional capacity for medical or dental care in there, or roads or anything like that. So these things are all sound great and sound bites on paper. They sound like they're all fluffy and they're turbocharging growth and maximizing, return on the. What does that mean? There's no way to implement it without taking the rest of the system down along with them. So, yeah, that's the position we're finding ourselves in at the minute. So I just thought I'd get your views on what's happening up Manchester Way, of course, which is where you're currently based. So we're going to wrap this up. So we'll steer people your way. Nick, by the way, has a great YouTube channel. I was on there last night. It's growing quite well, actually. If you go into Nick Buckley, MBE. There's a lot of thoughts and opinions on what's happening politically in the UK and further afield. Check out and subscribe to Nick's YouTube channel. And he also has a Substack page, Nick Buckley, MBE.substack.com. Get on there, show him some love and support as well. So all the best with the YouTube channel. It is a great medium to get your views and your message out there. And of course, you're welcome on here anytime, Nick. It's always lovely to have you on TNT, especially it's a bank holiday, so I appreciate you maybe getting up a bit early if you were having a wee sneaky lie-in this morning. But thank you very much for joining me anyway, Mr. Nick Buckley.
Did you enjoy that video? I think you did. Come on now, hit that bell, subscribe, comment. Let's build this channel. I need more followers. I need more subscribers. Be part of the journey. See you soon.